We forgot to invite your wife, Dad said, as if he were talking about napkins. Then he slid the black leather bill folder across the table. But you can still pay for the family reunion dinner. I looked down. $5,100 for one dinner. For a family reunion my wife had been deliberately excluded from. Before I could speak, my sister Claire leaned back, lifted her wine glass, and smiled. Honestly, Felix, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear, Maya wouldn't have fit in anyway. The table went quiet. Not shocked quiet, waiting quiet. My uncle stared at his plate. My mother adjusted her bracelet. My cousin Greg looked into his wine glass like it might save him. Dad kept 2 fingers on the bill, tapping lightly, waiting for me to remember my place. Felix pays. Felix fixes. Felix keeps peace. Felix never embarrasses the family. I looked around the private dining room at Meritage, one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. 26 relatives sat under warm golden lights, surrounded by empty wine bottles, seafood towers, lobster shells, steak plates, desserts, and coffee cups. Beside me was an empty chair. That chair belonged to Maya, my wife. The woman who had ironed my shirt that morning because she knew I was nervous. The woman who had asked, "Are you sure they invited me?" Because after 3 years of marriage, she already understood my family better than I wanted to admit. I had told her yes. I had said, "Of course they invited you. You're my wife." I was wrong. I picked up the bill. Dad smiled. Claire smirked. I stood. Mom blinked. "Where are you going?" "To take care of it," I said. Relief spread across the table instantly. I walked past the private room doors, past the hostess stand, and toward the kitchen entrance, where our server, Daniel, was carrying coffee cups. "Sir?" he asked. "I'd like to pay my portion," I said. "Sparkling water, Caesar salad, salmon entree, tax, and a proper tip." He frowned. "Your portion?" "Yes. The table is practicing a pay-for-yourself experiment. They just found out." Daniel stared at me. Then he looked like he was trying very hard not to smile. "He'll get the manager." By 11 p.m., my phone had 94 missed calls. And for the first time in my life, I didn't answer a single one. My name is Felix Hartman. I'm 36 years old, and I'm a real estate agent. Not the television kind, who sells glass mansions while wearing designer suits and pretending a cracked foundation has character. I built my career the hard way. Rainy open houses, cold calls, buyers who cried in parking lots after losing another offer, sellers who blamed me because the market did not worship their ugly kitchen. Real estate taught me pressure, patience, and how to smile while people asked for miracles. In other words, it prepared me perfectly for my family. Money in my family always flowed one way, away from me. My father Martin called me dependable. My mother Elaine said I had a generous heart. My sister Claire said I was lucky with money, as if commission checks fell from the sky while I slept. When I closed my first big sale, Dad needed help fixing his truck. When I had my best year, Mom needed dental work. When Claire quit her job to start a luxury candle business, I gave her $8,000. She called it a loan for 3 weeks. Then she started calling it support. The business failed in 6 months. The candles smelled like vanilla, smoke, and bad decisions. But somehow the debt became rude to mention. My parents were not helpless. Dad had retired early after a knee injury, and Mom worked part-time at a library. But they had built a lifestyle around emergencies. Every month brought a new one. The roof, the car, insurance, taxes, Claire's storage unit, Claire's retreat, Dad's medication, Mom's credit card. Every request ended with the same sentence. "Family helps family, Felix." For years, I believed that. Then I married Maya. I met her at an open house. She was helping her aunt look for a condo after a divorce. While everyone else asked about square footage and HOA fees, Maya stood in the staged kitchen staring at a bowl of fake lemons. "Do fake lemons actually help sell houses?" she asked. I laughed. "Apparently. They make me distrust the whole kitchen." That was Maya. Warm, sharp, quiet until she had something worth saying. She worked as an elementary school art teacher. She wore silver moon earrings, drank tea that smelled like flowers, and noticed everything. She noticed when I rubbed my temple because I was stressed. She noticed when a child in her class stopped drawing bright colors. She noticed when someone said, "I'm fine," and meant the opposite. My family noticed one thing about her. She was not useful to them. The first time they met her, Mom hugged her too tightly and said, "You're so pretty," in a natural way. Claire looked at Maya's handmade earrings and said, "That's cute. Very craft fair." Dad asked what her parents did before asking anything about her. Maya answered politely. Her mother was a nurse. Her father owned a small repair shop. Dad nodded as if he were accepting information from a form. My family did not openly hate Maya. They dismissed her. At Thanksgiving, Maya brought homemade tiramisu. Claire said, "Oh, I'm careful with homemade desserts. You never know about people's kitchens." Then she ate 2 slices when she thought nobody saw. When Mom complained about being overwhelmed, Maya helped organize her pantry. 2 days later, Mom told Aunt Linda, "Maya is sweet, but she can be a little controlling." When Dad complained about his knee, Maya found a physical therapist covered by insurance. He went twice and said the therapist did not understand real pain. Maya never shouted. She never demanded I cut them off. She never told me what to do. But one night, after I transferred $2,000 to Claire for business expenses, Maya sat across from me at our kitchen table and asked, "Felix, do they love you, or do they love what happens when they need you?" I got defensive because truth feels like an attack when you are not ready for it. "They are my family," I said. "I know. They raised me. I know. They would be there for me." Maya looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, "I hope so." I hated that answer because some part of me already knew. The family reunion was Claire's idea. She called it the Hartman Legacy Dinner, which should have been enough warning. "We haven't all been together in years," she said on a group call. "Grandma would have wanted this." Grandma had been dead for 6 years, and Claire had visited her twice in hospice. Still, everyone agreed. Then Claire picked marriage. I almost laughed. "Isn't that expensive for a family dinner?" I asked. Dad answered before Claire could. "It's one night, Felix. Don't be cheap." Cheap. That word always appeared when someone wanted me to pay for something I had not chosen. "Them not being cheap," I said. Him saying everyone should know the cost before agreeing. Claire sighed. "Some of us want one nice night. Then some of us can pay for it." The call went silent. Mom finally said, "We'll figure it out later." I should have known what that meant. The week before the dinner, Maya asked, "What time should we be there?" 7, I said, checking messages from a client. She paused. "Can you forward me the group chat?" I looked up. "What group chat?" "The reunion chat. Greg's wife mentioned it. Everyone has been voting on appetizers." My stomach tightened. I texted Claire. "Hey, Maya isn't in the reunion chat. Can you add her?" 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "Oh, I thought you were coming solo." I stared at the words. "Why would I come solo? She is my wife." Claire replied, "It is mostly Hartman's. Dad wanted it simple." Simple? Apparently my wife was complicated. I called Dad. He answered with a grunt. "What? Why wasn't Maya invited?" A pause. Then the sigh. The one that always made me feel 12 again. "They don't start drama where I'm asking a question. We didn't think she'd be comfortable. That's not your decision. Felix, she always looks uncomfortable. Because you make her uncomfortable." His voice hardened. "Careful." There it was. The warning. The invisible leash. I looked across the room at Maya, who was pretending not to listen while watering a plant that did not need water. "She's my wife," I said. "If she isn't invited, he's not coming." Dad exhaled sharply. "Fine. Bring her." "Fine. Not sorry. Not of course. Fine." I told Maya she was invited. I did not tell her how. That was my cowardice. On the night of the dinner, Maya came out of our bedroom wearing a navy dress and the silver moon earrings from our 3rd date. "How do I look?" she asked. "Like the best person in that restaurant," I said. She smiled, but it faded when my phone buzzed. "Claire, running behind with seating. Maybe come around 7:45? I frowned. Maya saw my face. "What?" "Claire says seating is delayed." "At the restaurant?" "Apparently." Maya watched me for a second. "Call the restaurant." I almost argued. Instead I called. "Meritage, how may I help you?" "Hi, I'm calling about the Hartman reservation. Has the party been seated?" "One moment, sir." Soft piano music played. Then the hostess returned. "Yes, sir. The Hartman party was seated at 7 in the private dining room." I closed my eyes. "Thank you." When I looked at Maya, she already knew. "They're seated," I said. She looked down at her dress and smoothed the fabric once over her hips. That small movement hurt more than tears would have. "I'm sorry," I said. She nodded. There were a dozen things I should have done. I should have stayed home. I should have ordered takeout. I should have chosen my wife right there. Instead, I said, "I'm going to handle this." Maya looked at me. "Felix, I need to hear them say it." "You already know." "I know." She stepped closer and touched my chest. "Then don't forget who you're coming home to." I drove to Meritage alone. The private dining room doors were open when I arrived. Laughter spilled into the hallway. Claire saw me first. "Felix, you made it!" Dad raised his glass. "There he is!" Mom kissed my cheek. "You're late, sweetheart." I did not sit. "Where's Maya's place?" The room cooled. Claire blinked innocently. Oh, she came? No, because you told me seating was delayed. Aunt Linda looked at Claire. Dad set down his glass. The Felix, not here. Where is her chair? Mom reached for my arm. Honey, it was a misunderstanding. Maya once told me that in my family, the misunderstanding meant we got caught. I looked at Claire. She gave a dramatic sigh. I didn't think she'd want to come. She's always so stiff at family things. She's stiff because you talk around her like she's furniture. Claire's mouth tightened. Dad's voice dropped. Sit down. For 36 years, that tone had worked. And I hate admitting this, but I sat. Dinner continued like nothing had happened. That was the worst part. Nobody apologized. Nobody asked about Maya. Nobody even pretended to feel guilty. They just kept eating. Claire ordered another seafood tower. Dad ordered another bottle of wine. Mom told Aunt Linda to try the lobster because the Felix knows people here. I did not know people there. I knew one assistant manager because I had helped him rent an apartment years earlier. In my family, that was enough to turn me into the official host. I barely touched my food. I watched them instead. I watched people I had helped for years laugh under warm lights while my wife sat at home in a dress she should have worn beside me. Then dessert came. Then coffee. Then the bill. Daniel placed the black folder near Dad. Dad opened it, glanced at the total, and slid it toward me. Well, he said, smiling like this had been settled before I arrived. Since you're the big real estate man, why don't you take this one? Consider it your contribution to keeping the family together. I looked at him. You invited everyone here. You were doing well. I didn't offer to pay. Mom stiffened. Felix, don't embarrass your father. Claire gave a short laugh. He's not embarrassing Dad. He's embarrassing himself. Dad tapped the folder. We forgot to invite your wife, he said. But you can still pay for the family reunion dinner. Then Claire smiled. She wouldn't have fit in anyway. Something inside me went completely still. Not angry. Still. I picked up the bill and stood. The whole room watched me walk out. Near the kitchen, Daniel looked nervous when I approached. I'd like to pay my portion, I told him. The table said one person was covering everything. The table was wrong. The manager, Patrice, came over. She was calm, professional, and had the tired eyes of someone who had dealt with entitled families before. You only want to pay your individual order? She asked. Yes, and please add a good tip for Daniel. Of course. My total was $84. I tipped $100. Daniel stared at the receipt. Sir, that's too much. No, I said. You're about to explain math to my family. It's not enough. Patrice's lips twitched. I signed and returned to the private room. Dad looked relieved when he saw me with the folder. All set? He asked. Yes, I said. I paid my portion. Silence. Claire blinked. What? My portion. The manager will split the rest among everyone. Dad's face darkened. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not, Mom whispered. Felix. I looked down the table. Since my wife wasn't invited, and since Claire says she wouldn't have fit in anyway, I assume this dinner was for the people who did fit in, so those people can pay for what they ordered. Uncle Rob muttered, Come on, Felix. I turned to him. Did you order the second seafood tower? He looked away. Claire stood. You're seriously doing this over Maya? No, I said. I'm doing this because of Maya, and because of me. Every person here watched you disrespect my wife, then expected me to reward it. Dad stood slowly. He had used his size to intimidate people my whole life. He planted his hands on the table. You will sit down and stop acting like a child. There it was, the command. But this time, it did not reach me. No. He stared at me like he had never heard the word before. No, I repeated. I'm leaving. Mom started crying instantly. After everything we've done for you? I looked at her. What exactly did you do for me tonight? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Patrice appeared in the doorway. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Hartman is paid for his individual order. We can split the remaining balance by seat, by item, or equally. Which would you prefer? The room exploded. I only had salad. Who ordered the Bordeaux? Claire ordered the seafood. Dad said Felix was paying. I'm not paying for the kids, Dad snapped. He is paying. Patrice looked at me. I smiled politely. No, I am not. Then I walked out. The night air hit my face like cold water. My hands were shaking by the time I reached my car. I expected guilt to swallow me. Instead, I felt grief. Not for the dinner, for the fantasy I had spent years funding. My phone rang before I started the engine. Dad, decline. Claire, decline. Mom, decline. Dad again. Claire again. Cousin Greg. Aunt Linda. By the time I got home, I had 31 missed calls. Maya was on the couch in sweatpants, her navy dress folded over a chair. She stood when I came in. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. She crossed the room and wrapped her arms around me. That was when I broke. Not loudly, just one exhausted sound into her shoulder. I'm sorry, I whispered. Her hand moved slowly over my back. I know. They did it on purpose. I know. I still went. I know. That hurt most. She wasn't angry. She was tired. I pulled back. I paid my portion and left them with the bill. For the first time that night, Maya smiled. How much? 5,100. Her eyebrows rose. Felix. I tipped Daniel. Good. My phone buzzed again. Dad texted. You humiliated this family. Call me now. Claire, you are disgusting. Grandma would be ashamed. Mom, your father's blood pressure is high. I hope you're happy. Then Dad again. They won't let us leave until this is settled. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed, sounds uncomfortable, and turned off my phone. The next morning, I woke up to 94 missed calls, 36 texts, 7 voicemails, 3 emails, and 1 Venmo request from Claire for $196.43 labeled, Your Share of Embarrassment. I deleted it. Maya made coffee while I played the first voicemail on speaker. Dad's voice filled the kitchen. You think you proved something? You proved you're selfish. You proved that woman has turned you against your own blood. Call me. The next voicemail was Mom crying. I don't understand who you are anymore. We raised you better than this. Claire cried in the bathroom. Everyone was staring. Maya lifted an eyebrow. Claire cried? Apparently. Did the bathroom charge separately too? I laughed. It came out before I could stop it. Then Maya laughed too, and suddenly we were both laughing in our kitchen while my mother's voicemail played in the background about betrayal. Then came Claire's message. You're pathetic, Felix. You let your wife control you because she's insecure around us. She doesn't fit in because she doesn't try. She sits there with those dead little teacher eyes like she's better than everyone's. Maya reached over and stopped the recording. The laughter died. I stared at my phone. Him done, I said. She looked at me. I mean it, I said. Done. And I was. That morning, I opened my banking app and canceled every recurring transfer connected to my family. $700 a month to Mom and Dad for household support, $300 to Claire for her storage unit, $150 for my cousin Derek's phone bill, which I had somehow been paying since he was 22. He was 30. Then I searched my bank records. Over 5 years, I had given my family more than $83,000, not including dinners, not including gifts, not including emergency cash. $83,000. Maya sat beside me as I stared at the number. I could have taken you to Italy, I said. I know. I could have paid more toward our mortgage. I know. I could have hired help when you were sick. She placed her hand over mine. Felix, don't turn regret into another way to punish yourself. I closed my eyes. I let them treat you like you didn't matter. Yes, she said softly. I opened my eyes. No comfort lie, no softening, just truth. And now? She asked. Now they learn. At noon, Dad called from Mom's phone. I answered. What? I said. The silence told me he had expected a softer son. We need to talk, he said. No, you need money. His breathing changed. That bill was outrageous. You picked the restaurant. Claire picked it. You agreed. You knew people couldn't afford it. So did you. His voice lowered. Family doesn't abandon family in public. Family doesn't exclude a man's wife and then hand him a bill. She is not the issue. She is exactly the issue. No, Felix, the issue is you've changed. I hope so. Dad made a disgusted sound. Your mother is devastated. My wife was humiliated. Claire didn't mean it that way. Claire meant every word. That is your wife talking. No, I said. That is your son finally listening to himself. He went silent. I continued. Effective immediately, I'm done funding everyone. No transfers, no emergency loans, no dinners, no credit card payments, no business support, nothing. You don't mean that. I do. Your mother and I rely on that money. You shouldn't have built a lifestyle around disrespecting the person paying for it. He exploded. You ungrateful little... I hung up. My hands were steady. That surprised me. Over the next week, the family group chat became a courtroom. Claire wrote paragraphs about Maya, titillating me. Mom posted childhood photos of me, as if pictures of a 6-year-old missing front teeth proved I owed her retirement money. Dad stayed mostly silent, which meant he was privately calling relatives. Then Aunt Linda messaged me. I don't agree with how Claire talked about Maya, but leaving everyone with the bill was harsh. I replied, Did you know Maya wasn't invited? She did not answer for 10 minutes. Then, Claire said Maya didn't want to come. There it was. The lie. I sent screenshots. Claire telling me to come late. The restaurant confirming they had already been seated. Dad telling me not to start drama. Aunt Linda replied, "I'm sorry, I didn't know." That was the first apology I got. Not from the people who owed it most. Once the truth spread, Claire changed tactics. She posted online. Sad when marriage makes people forget the family that raised them. Some people enter your life just to divide and control. Maya saw it before I did. She sent me a screenshot with one sentence. Your sister spells accountability as control. I married well. The real explosion came 9 days after the dinner. My parents showed up at my office. I work at a boutique brokerage downtown. I had just finished a consultation when our receptionist Ashley appeared at my door. T. Felix, your parents are here. Through the glass, I saw Dad pacing near the waiting area. Mom sat stiffly on the sofa, clutching her purse. I walked out. Dad did not greet me. You muted my calls. Yes. We need privacy. No. Mom stood. T. Felix, please. I'm at work. Dad stepped closer. This is important. So are my clients. Mama's eyes filled. We may lose the house. That sentence would once have broken me open. Now I only felt tired. Why? Dad looked away. Mom whispered, We're behind. How far? 3 months. I stared at them. I gave you money for the mortgage. Dad snapped. It helped. How much are you behind? Mom looked at the floor. 9,000. I let out a humorless laugh. Dad pointed at me. Don't laugh at your mother. Where did the money go? Neither answered. Then I knew. Claire. Mom started crying harder. She needed help with packaging and marketing. Her business was so close, Felix. You gave my mortgage money to Claire for candle boxes? She's your sister. And I'm your son. Dad leaned in. If you had just paid for the dinner like a decent son, none of this would be happening. That was when I understood. The dinner had not only been entitlement, it had been a test. They needed to know I was still controllable before asking for the next bailout. I'm sorry about the house, I said. Hope flashed in Mom's eyes. Then I finished. But I'm not paying. Dad stared at me. I can help you call the lender. I can explain options, but I will not give you money. Dad's voice went low. You sell houses for strangers all day, but you won't save your parents' home. I already tried. You spent the money. Mom sobbed into her hands. Dad grabbed her arm. When this falls apart, remember you chose that woman over us. I looked him in the eye. No, I chose my wife over being used by you. He flinched. Then he stormed out. Ashley came over after the door closed. Should I say you are unavailable if they come back? Yes. She nodded. Then she said quietly, For what it's worth, your wife sounds lucky. I shook my head. No, I'm the lucky one. I just forgot to act like it. That night, I told Maya everything. We sat on the back porch wrapped in blankets. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she stared into the yard. I don't want to be the reason you lose your family, she said. You're not. That's what they'll say. They've said worse. She looked at me. I never wanted you to cut them off for me. I wanted you to stop cutting pieces off yourself to keep them warm. That sentence stayed with me. The fallout was ugly. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries do not celebrate when you develop them. Claire tried guilt first, then rage, then public embarrassment, then fake concern. She sent an email titled, I miss my brother. It started with childhood memories and ended with a request for $4,200 to stabilize her inventory. I did not reply. Mom left voicemail saying she could not sleep, then texts about Dad's knee, then a photo of him in a recliner with an ice pack. Like, suffering came with a payment link. I did not reply. Dad sent one message. You are no son of mine while you let us struggle. I almost answered. Maya stopped me. Wait 1 day. So I did. The next day, the message looked different. Not powerful, desperate. I deleted it. Months passed. Without my money, things changed quickly. Claire closed her candle business and announced she was pivoting into lifestyle consulting, which meant posting quotes about abundance while living in my parents' guest room. Dad took a part-time dispatch job after telling everyone for years his knee made work impossible. Mom sold things from the garage online, including a treadmill I bought Dad for Christmas because he swore he was getting serious about health. They did not lose the house. That part matters. For years, they had made every problem sound like a cliff. One missed payment from disaster, one refusal from ruin, one no from death. But when I stopped rescuing them, they did not collapse. They adjusted, loudly, angrily, dramatically, but they adjusted. Meanwhile, my life became quiet. At first, the quiet scared me. When you grow up around constant demands, peace feels suspicious. I checked my phone expecting emergencies. I woke up anxious on the first of the month, feeling like I had forgotten to pay someone else's bill. Then the quiet became space. Maya and I started Friday dinners again. Sometimes tacos, sometimes pasta, sometimes pancakes at 8 p.m. because being an adult means nobody can stop you. We took a weekend trip to the coast. Maya sketched on the beach while I ignored 3 calls from Claire and felt only a little guilty. I paid more toward our mortgage. I slept better. At work, I became sharper. I closed 2 major deals in 1 month and did not immediately calculate how much of the commission would disappear into somebody else's crisis. Then Tasha called me. She was Greg's wife and one of the few people who had ever been kind to Maya. I wanted to apologize, she said. For what? For believing Claire. About Maya. About you. I leaned back in my chair. At the reunion, Tasha continued, after you left, people were angry. But then Claire started talking. She said Maya had trained you, and once you got tired of playing husband, you would come back to the family. It was awful. My grip tightened. Why are you telling me this? Because Greg and I are not attending family events where Maya is not welcome. Aunt Linda said the same. I stared out my office window. Something in my chest loosened. Thank you, I said. No, Tasha replied. We should have said it sooner. For years, I thought standing up for myself meant losing everyone. I never considered that it might show me who was worth keeping. 3 months after marriage, Dad asked to meet at a diner near my office. Maya asked if I wanted her to come. I did, but I said no. Not because she did not belong, because this pathway was mine to hold. Dad was already there when I arrived. He looked older, smaller somehow. I sat across from him. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then he cleared his throat. I was wrong about the dinner. I waited. We didn't forget Maya, he said. I know. Claire said it would be better without her. Your mother agreed. I let it happen. The words were not new, but hearing him say them mattered. And the bill? I asked. He rubbed his face. I assumed you'd pay. We all did. Why? He looked at me then. Because you always did. There it was. The family truth. Not because I offered, not because they respected me, because I always did. Dad swallowed. That doesn't make it right. No, I said. It doesn't. He nodded. I don't know how to fix this. You can start by apologizing to Maya. His mouth tightened. Then he nodded. You're right. And I'm not turning the money back on. I'm not asking. Mom? She knows. Claire? Dad let out a dry laugh. Claire thinks she's the victim because you stopped paying for her storage unit. I almost smiled. Then his face sobered. I thought because you were strong, you didn't need as much, he said. Claire was always fragile. You seemed fine. I felt heat behind my eyes. I wasn't fine. I was useful. Dad flinched. I know. No, I said. You don't. You don't know what it's like to sit at a table full of people you've helped and realize not one of them sees you as a person. Dad looked down. You're right, he said. Not enough to erase the damage, but enough to make the moment real. When I got home, Maya was painting small blue flowers on a canvas. How was it? She asked. Honest, I said. Strange, but honest. I told her everything. When I said Dad wanted to apologize, she put down her brush. Do you want me to accept? No, I said. I want you to do whatever protects your peace. Her eyes softened. Look at you. What? Finally sounding like someone who sells houses and understands doors. I smiled. Meaning? Meaning you know which ones to open. And which ones to lock. Dad called her 2 days later. Maya put him on speaker. His apology was awkward, stiff, imperfect, but real. Maya, he said, I'm sorry we excluded you. I'm sorry I allowed disrespect toward you. You didn't deserve that. Maya sat very still. No, she said, I didn't. And Felix didn't deserve to be treated like a wallet, she added. No, Dad said quietly. He didn't. I appreciate the apology, Maya said. I'm not ready for dinners or holidays, but I appreciate it. I understand, Dad said. After they hung up, she cried. Not because everything was fixed, because someone had finally admitted it had been broken. Claire never really apologized. 6 months later, she sent a text. I'm sorry you felt unsupported during the reunion situation. I replied, that is not an apology. She did not answer. That was fine. Some people would rather lose access to you than lose the story where they were right. 1 year after the reunion, Maya and I went back to Meritage, just us. I requested Daniel as our server. He recognized me immediately. The pay-for-yourself experiment guy, he said. Maya burst out laughing. I covered my face. Yes, I said. Unfortunately. Daniel leaned closer. For what it's worth, after you left, Table 12 split into 4 different arguments. Someone tried to pay with a gift card from another restaurant. Maya laughed so hard she had to wipe her eyes. I ordered salmon again, mostly for symbolism. Maya ordered lobster risotto because healing should taste expensive. When the bill came, Daniel placed it between us with dramatic caution. I reached for it. Maya put her hand over mine. "No," she said. I froze. She smiled. "We pay this one together." So we did. Not because I had to. Not because she expected it. Because partnership is not one person bleeding quietly while everyone else eats. Partnership is choice. That night, walking to the car, my phone buzzed. A text from Dad. "Your mother and I are going to dinner Saturday. Just us. Budget place. Hope you and Maya are well." No request, no guilt, no emergency. Just that. I showed Maya. She read it and handed the phone back. "That's something," she said. "Not everything. No. But something." I looked back through the restaurant window at the warm lights and white tablecloths. For years, I thought being a good son meant never letting anyone feel discomfort. I thought love meant rescue. I thought if I paid enough bills, covered enough dinners, and swallowed enough insults, my family would finally see me as someone worth respecting. But respect that has to be purchased is not respect. It is rent, and I was done paying to belong in rooms where my wife was not welcome. My family forgot to invite Maya. Then they remembered I had a wallet, so I reminded them they had their own. It cost me 94 missed calls, months of guilt, and the fantasy that my family had ever been fair to me. But it gave me something better, a quiet home, a stronger marriage, and a life where love no longer arrived folded inside a black leather bill folder. My name is Felix Hartman. I'm a real estate agent. I know the value of a good home, and mine is wherever Maya has a chair beside me.